This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, back by popular demand, Stephen Coughlin, the author of Catastrophic Failure. Stephen, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Real honor last time as we were discussing catastrophic failure, and I want to narrow in on a few themes that you just masterfully unveil and expose just this disaster occurring right before our eyes. Tonight, Stephen, I want to narrow in on this theme, the Muslim Brotherhood, above and outside the law in America. Now, in one part of Catastrophic Failure, you note that this whole situation that you're describing in terms of what our leadership is doing, quote, puts groups like the Muslim Brotherhood out of reach of investigators, national security analysts, and even concerned members of Congress. In other words, the Muslim Brotherhood is above the law. Can you talk about this for us?
Yes, the Muslim Brotherhood of America has really has kind of positioned themselves so they're above the law. If you think about the fact that they've insinuated themselves into the highest levels of government, they've insinuated themselves into the media point of contact, and there's the leadership element in America for the Muslim community. It's almost mysterious how they've managed to manipulate themselves into that situation where if someone wants to go and raise an issue, you're up against the fact that the most senior people in the media, the local government, the sheriffs in many respects, or the senators, or in the administrations themselves, their outreach partner are the very Muslim brothers who you're trying to bring attention to. And they have these special relationships which just seem to lock reason and facts and evidence out of the question.
Well, Stephen, yeah, and on last show I used and we used the KGB and the Soviet regime as an analogy kind of for what's happening today. You know, today, in the sense of imagine, last time you made a great point that imagine during the Cold War that not only is the KGB advising you, but telling you that there is no KGB. And so today, in Catastrophic Failure, you're showing how Islamic law in Islam, it's just this abstraction. It's sort of like it just doesn't even mean anything. And you point out in one place where you say, for instance, how the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Muslim Brotherhood Ligging Group, how it gives direction to the government that reflects this paradigm very well. And you write that this group urges the replacement of the word Islamic with abstractions like radicalized or violent extremist, and that these terms have been used to obscure the discussion in unnecessary and irrelevant discussions on how, quote, terrorists and violent extremists vary in ethnicity, race, and religion. And so in the end, none of this almost means anything.
Well, and I think that is the goal of the violent extremism narrative, to reduce counterterrorism analysis to meaninglessness. And then actually best controlling that discussion in academic hands that are themselves dubious, also the Brotherhood. If we go back and look at DHS when they first started standing up the countering violent extremism workshops to pull together their program, they brought in the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood to do it. And I think it's not a mistake. Listen, an extremist is somebody who believes in something enough that they'd stand up for it, like the Constitution. A violent extremist is somebody who would actually fight for it, to support and defend it, like a returning veteran. And I think that no matter how much the articles you read start by talking about Al-Qaeda and Tora Bora and bin Laden, they almost always end up focusing on Americans who believe that the Constitution's worth fighting for. And I don't think that's a mistake. Interestingly enough, in the international forums, you see the Brotherhood and the OIC really pushing hard for the implementation of the CVE, but you see domestic Muslim Brotherhood entities like CARE call for its banning or suppression. Why? Because they want the CVE, they just don't want it applied against Muslims, especially groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. And there you have the whole thing. The CVE, countering violent extremism, I believe, lifts the national security apparatus up away off of its national security and constitutional framework and puts it into supporting the postmodern narrative that the Brotherhood, especially CARE, MPAC, and ISNA, have been so effective in manipulating.
Yeah, and you know, throughout catastrophic failure, you show how this paradigm is working now cyclically, that the key is not to inflame a situation. So if the Muslim world is upset, it means that the wrong people are the people who have upset them. So we need to watch how we speak, and then therefore they won't get upset, and so just don't mention Islam.
This is exactly right. It's called the battered wife syndrome, I call it. And the reason is it's about redefining the word incitement, so that incitement isn't that I'm a member of a racist party and I give a speech to fellow travelers and they go out and beat somebody up or kill them. That's incitement. That's always been against the law. What they're saying now is I say something to a crowd, a third party over there decided they didn't like it and conjured up for them a right to attack you. And now they're saying that is incitement. That's the same as saying, you know, to some bully tells his wife, you made me beat you. Shut up and don't talk that way. And this is very important because what you're seeing happening is that in the international forums, the OIC is working with Soros groups, for example, Article 19, that's the name of a Soros group, to redefine the term incitement in an international treaty, so that in redefining an international treaty, it makes the application of this rule applicable to you wherever you live in America.
But Stephen, something really frightening and weird is happening in the sense that, let's say Jihad in Chattanooga, the Boston Marathon Massacre, Fort Hood, the people that come forward and say, hey, wait a minute, you see, those perpetrators referred to Islamic theology. The person that tries to show what that jihadist did and why, the person that's the truth teller is now, by the looks of it, is the person that's being accused of engaging in violent extremism. It's the truth tellers.
Violent extremism and being a hater. And there's a whole series there's a whole narrative rolling down the pike to start criminalizing haters for being engaged in hate speech. Yes, you're exactly right. And this is about on one level implementing Islamic law of slander that holds that non-Muslims are not allowed to have opinions or express opinions that are contrary to Islam or the Islamic view. It's also about getting the by your hand Western leaders to attack people who would actually stand up and say that.
Stephen, you write, well, this is the scary thing now. So the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, I think it's 57 Muslim states?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Hillary Clinton, while serving as Secretary of State, you document this, she met with the General Secretary of the OIC in July 2011 and personally committed the State Department to the effort to outlaw such speech. She also affirmed that there would be action undertaken to intimidate Americans who engaged in such speech with peer pressure and shaming. You also write, when Assistant Attorney General Tom Perez was asked by the chairman of the House Subcommittee on the Constitution to confirm that the administration would, quote, never entertain or advance a proposal that criminalizes speech against any religion, he refused to answer. Let's end with this. Stephen, this is very scary. We have a leadership that's making a commitment to embrace blasphemy laws.
Exactly right. And what she was committing to was something called UN Resolution 1618, that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the second largest intergovernmental organization, second only to the United Nations, which when it meets at the summit level is the heads of states of all the Islamic countries. They came up with something called the 10-year program of action to make defamation of Islam a crime in every jurisdiction. And in doing that, they said they were going to work through international organizations like the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the OSCE, and United Nations, and that they would use facially neutral language. So it's really important that they have said that UN Resolution 1618 is that legislation. So we should understand that resolution that Hillary Clinton agreed to implement, and she did. Later in December, the State Department brought in UN representatives to pass it in the Human Rights Commission at the UN. That was creating a precedent that Islamic slander law could be used against non-Muslims as an emerging international standard.
Stephen, it is very possible that this will happen in the future in America.
I don't think it's possible that it may happen. It is unrolling right now. They did implement it in the Human Rights Commission. They're trying to get it passed. And I think what we're seeing right now is we're seeing what we're seeing as a fusion of the left wing's hate speech law with the Islamic narrative on Islamophobia. And you're going to see the Islamophobia language be folded into this hate speech narrative. So it's happening right now. You saw it in Texas when Pam Geller was attacked for hosting a conference when in fact she was being attacked by killers, and they were let off.
Stephen, in other words, before we go, we're running out of time. Let us say that I would like to fight on behalf of the victims of female genital mutilation in the Islamic world, and I begin to verbalize the hadith that serve as the inspiration and sanctioning of female genital mutilation. Let us say there's a jihad attack, and we point to Surah 9:5 and Surah 9:29 in terms of the Islamic texts that inspire and sanction jihad. We could actually be penalized and go to jail for this.
Absolutely, that is the intent. It's first of all to isolate you, but ultimately it's to criminalize it. And interestingly enough, it's to criminalize it in facially neutral language in America. So you're just going to be branded a hater, and you'll be called an inciter because of incitement. Now the funny thing is, we already know with the CVE that the Republican chairman of the Homeland Security Commission has already passed a committee to stand up a CVE office at DHS. And like I like to tell people, what we need to watch for is any media entity or any member of Congress saying to the next terrorist attack, it's like saying fire in a movie theater, because that's one of the talking points the OIC has constructed to have people say, so that to criminalize it. Interestingly enough, yelling fire in a movie theater was a dissenting opinion by Oliver Wendell Holmes, so it was never law, and more importantly, he retracted it himself.
This sounds like catastrophic failure to me. Stephen Coughlin, thank you for being such a noble and brave truth teller in our world today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I hope you'll be back on the Glazov Gang soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Coughlin's book, Catastrophic Failure, the most important book to read right now. It's a masterpiece spelling out the catastrophic failure we see in front of us right now in terms of how the Muslim Brotherhood and the left is blinding us and tying our hands behind our back in terms of our effort to and ability to fight jihad.
Well, wait till you get to part 7. You'll be very upset.
Oh, part 7. Okay. You betcha, and we'll get you back on the Glazov Gang to discuss it, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Glazov Gang. Good night.